Welcome to this brief introduction on getting started with Microsoft Office's Class Notebook, a spin-off of the OneNote notebook that allows teachers and students to collaborate, allows teachers to distribute content very easily, and most importantly, without frequent visits to the photocopier, and most importantly, at least in my opinion, allows for dialogue between teacher and student and the opportunity to have quick and meaningful feedback exchanges. So this is a tutorial on how to set it up, an overview of the different types of content areas that are created when you create a class notebook. And then from there, I'd encourage you to keep in touch with me as you enroll your students, get started, so that we can figure out what workflows work best for the classes that you're teaching and the students with whom you're working. I'm starting in the Fort Worth ISD Apps portal. This is the best way for both staff and students to get into Office 365 as well as their other district resources. Username, first name, dot, last name. Remember, don't put at fwisd.org. Password is capital B. Better luck next time. Once you log into the portal, you should see an icon for Office 365 a good ways down. It's alphabetical, so look for Office 365 Staff. Give it a click. Students may see a similar icon, not labeled as Staff. As you may know, it defaults to sending you to your email, but you can navigate up to the app launcher in the top left corner, come down, and select OneNote. OneNote on the web will open up notebooks that you've created. It will also open up notebooks in which you participate. You may not be the owner, but you may be collaborating with somebody or participating in a class notebook with a PLC or with your department. To do a new class notebook, it's as simple as clicking on the New button and selecting Class Notebook. You'll see it work for a moment. You'll give it a name, and I can see benefits to having one class notebook with all of your students enrolled. I can also see benefits to having a class notebook for every class period. Even if you teach one prep, it's better sometimes to have smaller groups to manage than it is to have one large notebook and having to coordinate that with data entry and focus. So there's several ways you can do it, but to create one notebook, you'll first of all have to give it a name. And I'm going to call this, for example, Daniel's first period. And of course, with your students seeing the name of your notebook, and it might have to change from Daniel to something more professional, Mr. Bam's first period, something along those lines. Click Next. It walks you through it step by step. Uh-oh, we've got a problem. I included a period. Apparently that is not an allowed character. So I can leave off the period, get rid of that extra letter V right there as well, and let's see if that works. There we go. The class notebook can be customized to contain multiple tabs, multiple sections, pages, all kinds of different content depending on the structure of what you're teaching. But the class notebook is going to begin by consisting of 3 large sections. The first section that they mention here on this page is the collaboration space. That is a space where students and teachers can collaborate with each other. So it can be students working with other students, students working with a teacher, teachers working with students, etc. Notice that over here, it gives you a good breakdown of who can edit and who can view. In the collaboration space, the teacher can edit content and students can edit content. The content library, the second major portion of the class notebook, is where students consume teachers' post. So teachers can add and modify content in the content library, but the students can only view what's been posted. Students cannot change things once they are posted. Students cannot put materials of their own into the content library. So this is where course information, handouts, assessments, all kinds of material, again, intended for student consumption, not student alteration or student modification, can be posted. And then finally, the feature I like most is the student notebooks, where the teacher will see a notebook in this overall creation, one private space for each student. Teachers can go in and edit that content. Students can also edit content, post materials, move things around. But where I see the most potential in this tool is that the student and teacher interaction here is one-on-one. Marcia can't see Jan's notebook. Jan can't see Cindy's notebook, and so on. So these are the major sections that will be created. We'll go ahead and click Next. If you're co-teaching, you have the option to give another teacher permission, teacher rights to use this notebook. For now, we're going to click Next and skip past that. This is where a little bit of work comes into play. You will need to enter your students' names and separate them with a semicolon in order to add them to this notebook. And students' names can be entered as simply as last name, comma, first. And you'll notice a wheel on the right that's doing a search for different names. You can also use the student's Microsoft credentials, which consist of the letter S and an ID number. I'm going to type in an arbitrary ID, and even if I just type in the first three letters 511, you'll see several names returned. And so I could select Cecilia and then replicate those efforts. Again, you see why there may be a benefit to having one notebook for each class period that meets versus a notebook that covers every single one of your students in one document. So once you enter the students' names, and I'm going to go ahead and actually enter a teacher's name here, a teacher with whom I'm working at a middle school. I'm going to make him the only collaborator in this notebook. Now we're almost there. What should be inside each student's private space? This is what the students will see in their private notebooks, and this would be similar to how if you wanted your students to carry a physical binder with them, what sections would you want them to have in that binder? It defaults to handouts, class notes, homework, and quizzes, and these are spaces that teachers can send materials into, and these are also spaces that students can post materials into. Depending on the structure of your class notes may be laboratory notes. Homework may be outside practice, whatever you want to call it. And you can also add sections if you want to customize it. Click Next. You get a preview both from the teacher's perspective with my one student, my collaboration space, and my content library. If I had multiple students, I would see multiple names listed here. From the student's perspective, they would see the collaboration space, the content library. Each student would see his or her name, nobody else's, as well as a section for handouts, class notes, homework, and quizzes. Once you get the notebook created, your students will see this under their class notebooks. And of course, if you have any questions, you want any feedback, want any assistance in working through this, feel free to get in touch.